Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. In this episode, Into the Sun, my last Steven Seagal direct-to-video film for this year. Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. I'm your host, Mila Sipka, and join me as taking a ride through the wild world of science fiction action horror, all from my personal DVD collection, with a whole heap of DVDs, plus a few Blu-rays, videotapes, video games, TV shows, and books. Now in this episode, this is actually the last of a whole heap of Steven Seagal direct-to-video films I've been doing this year. And I'll do plenty more Steven Seagal films next year. And yeah, I'm only about, this is like episode 120, review number 120. So I've got 5 more film reviews to go, then a year in review, then a D Spectrum, and then that's it for this year. So I hope you guys have had, I know it's been a tough year for all of us with the coronavirus and all the crap that's been going on. I'm going to try and beat my record for this year next year, so hopefully that comes around. Anyway, this episode we'll look at the film Into the Sun. That's actually the this prop is actually a replica cover I got from the internet. I lost the cover of my Australian disc a long time ago. Anyway, now this film Into the Sun was directed by Christopher Wingfield Morrison, although he's credited here as Mink, no caps. And it was made in 2005. It was a co-production between the USA and Japan. It was a direct-to-video feature, although it had a limited theatrical release, which is kind of strange. I mean, I know a couple of Steven Seagal's films have had some strange limited theatrical releases, like Kill Switch, which had a limited theatrical release in the United Arab Emirates, and Fly Fury had a limited theatrical release in Japan. Strange. Anyway, this film came out, premiered in the US on direct-to-video on the 15th of February 2005, in the UK on the 11th of April 2005, and on the 14th of April 2005 for Australia. Now, and by the way, Steven Seagal actually wrote the script for this one too. Now, the disc, my disc review is actually a second pressing, because the first initial pressing of DVDs, which had a reversible cover, had a little bit of problem with the subtitles. In fact, most releases around the world had problems with their subtitles, which I'll explain later. Anyway, apparently there was a problem where the Japanese portions of the film did not have any automatic subtitles, forcing you to have to manually switch on subtitles to translate the dialogue. My review disc had a small modification to it to enable the English subtitles to automatically come on to translate any Japanese dialogue, although aside from that, the disc is identical to the earlier pressings. Now, Into the Sun is another of Steven Seagal's first half of the 2000s direct-to-video clunkers, although one of the slightly better ones, but nowhere near as modestly entertaining as something like Belly of the Beast, which I'll review in the future. With a budget of somewhere between $16 and $35 million, and a worldwide direct-to-video gross of only $475,563, thereby making a massive flop, this film is essentially a forgotten entry in Seagal's post-millennial direct-to-video career. Now, a Tokyo politician is assassinated after giving a speech where he declares that he will bring in legislation that will deport immigrants of questionable pasts in order to protect the city. Word on the street is that the killers are affiliated with the local Yakuza, and there might be links of terrorism here, so prompting the local officers of the FBI to call in Travis Hunter, a former CIA agent and expert in Japanese underworld culture living in the city, to investigate. Saddled with a green behind the ears rookie FBI agent, and shadowed by a female CIA operative, Travis quickly finds out that the hitmen behind the killing were part of a dangerously unstable young Yakuza who has partnered with Chinese triads to form a new alliance to wipe out the other gangs and to control Tokyo's heroin network. At first, Travis and the local Yakuza are reluctant to deal with the upstarts, but when they start killing the local Yakuza's boss and Travis' fiancée is caught in the crossfire, all bets are off, and Travis and his underworld allies take the intruders head-on, while the FBI and CIA practically watch on. Now, the director of this new junker, Christopher Wingfield Morrison, prefers to be known as Mink, that's M-I-N-K with no caps, forcing critics everywhere to incur the wrath of the computer spell checkers and making himself look like the massive pretentious idiot that he actually is. And this is a guy who's basically done music videos and actually once made a film on a bus, which was called Bus. It was basically like an improvised film shot on board a bus. Now, his technical competency is surprisingly okay, rising above the hackwork of other directors to work with Seagal, namely the Michael Oblowitz and Michael Kikoish, to make a film that is strictly mediocre at best. But the script is saddled with cliché after cliché, as Seagal, who's been given a film assignment too good to pass up. Unlike the majority of his early 2000s work, this film is not an Eastern European production, but actually shot in the actual East, namely Japan, where Seagal actually lived in during his youth. As a matter of fact, one scene is shot in the market where Seagal used to walk by every day in his childhood, and Seagal speaks fluent Japanese, something you'll hear in the film. This ultimately winds up hobbling the production by writing a bog-standard story and resulting in a tedious film. And this being a Yakuza film, Yakuza films like dime a dozen in Japan. Often one of the best ones done by Takashi Miike, for example, Ichi the Killer. I have that. Hopefully, I won't do one of that one day. I'm gonna try and see if I can get to Full Metal Yakuza. That's a nuts film. Now, aside from Seagal getting a good chance to show his fans that he speaks Japanese like the locals do, and having plenty of nice shots of his old neighborhood, and as well as a decently violent climax where Seagal and two friends, one of whom is a Chinese chick that has a sword fighting skill that can match Seagal's skill, take on a full assault on the evil gang's hideout, resulting in many severed limbs and bodies hacked apart by nicely finished samurai swords, this film isn't going to rank as one of Seagal's best films. Plus the awkward brief love scene between Seagal and an actress who is literally young enough to be his daughter, or about the age of roughly 22. By the way, Seagal's daughter actually appears in the film. Sort of. I mean, the film that she did, one of those Gamera films, actually plays on the TV in the background. And it makes things look a little creepy. As is typical of this type of film, there are some strange goofs to expose here. Logic control, here are the facts. There are too many left-hand drive vehicles in the film to be convincing set in Japan. The local slang word shabu is not in reality used for heroin but instead for meth. Seagal should know this given he lived in the country for years. Now the CCTV footage scene where Seagal gets a reasonably decent close-up of one of the assassin's medallions is too high a resolution for the mid-2000s. In reality, it would have been impossible to get a close-up that well-detailed without getting indecipherable pixels in the way. We're talking about surveillance cameras here. Now, unless the CIA had a satellite filming the other satellite in orbit, they couldn't have been able to visually see the satellite during operations, only its output. There is a continuity error in the scene where the CIA chief reads Seagal's notes. One moment you can see the writing in black marker, the next they disappear. In one scene, the police car siren is actually what the local ambulances use for their sirens. Yep, sound editing. As a result, this film meets the very low expectations of many Seagal fans who have had to put up with very subpar direct-to-video films from the Stout Sensei, but at least this one is a little better than most, but not by much. I give this one a D+, 3 out of 10. Now for the gore. This is one of the gorier features in Seagal's 2000s catalog with severed and broken limbs aplenty. Now for nudity. Well, this is a strange one to mark, given the surprisingly high level of incidental nudity seen here. There's a brief sex scene which has even briefer boob pics. Juliet Marquis shows her butt briefly while stepping into a shower, literally a single second shot, and three female mermaids in Seagal's fiancee's bar are swimming in a fish tank wearing nothing but bikini bottoms. You can see their breasts as they swim by on at least 3 occasions. More than what is usual for a Seagal film, we usually get like 1 or 2 boob shots and bum shots seen. Now for the DVD. And by the way, I gave this a D+. Now for the DVD, another of the Columbia TriStar catalog of my review disc was one of the later pressing, handled by Sony Pictures. Initial pressings had a strange problem where the Japanese portions of the film don't have automatic subtitles, forcing you to manually switch on the subs to translate Japanese dialogue. My copy, coming from a multi-pack release, is identical to previous discs except for the English subtitles to be modified to kick in automatically to translate the dialogue. If you have the original single release, just switch on the English subs to keep them on. That'll save you the hassle. The picture quality was fine for early generation widescreen TVs, but comes up rather short in later generations where HD is concerned, with grain being a minor problem at times. Other than that, the picture's fine. Soundtracks are also decent enough with 21 subtitle tracks including English available. They'll supplement this disc. So there you go, Enter the Sun gets a D+, a 3 out of 10. Now, that's the last Steven Seagal film I'm doing for this year. I only have 5 more reviews to go, and films like, I mean, you'll see on the user comment section when I upload my primer. And yeah, I will finish the Critters 4 will be the last one I do this year. Hope you guys are staying safe. I will do it like a year in review, 2020. Probably gonna review the year 2020. It'll be a 2-part episode, and also do a D spectrum. That'll be for that thing. But don't worry, in the new year I'm gonna be really busy with this. Actually, I'm gonna start doing a bunch of Mill Creek and public domain prints. Hope you guys are staying safe. As always, take care and see this review.